Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for the OPTC video, and in today's video, we're continuing on with our Pirate Rumble breakdown, and in today's video, we're taking a look at the quick type. So in today's video, we're going to be putting all of the quick characters, legends, Pirate Rumble recruits, and any other character I think is good in PvP onto a tier list, so you guys get a better understand how to use the quick team against strength. Now, quick is a little bit different to the strength video that you guys probably saw yesterday. Quick actually has a very, very good team that can rumble against a lot of other teams in the game. But the point of this particular series is that the type teams stereotypically work better against their counter type. So in today's video, we're going to be prioritizing strength, but I will touch on some of those other teams towards the back end of my team guides for you guys. But like I said, we're going to put all the characters onto a tier list. We're going to break down some of the teams. We're going to talk about some very good units against strength. We're going to talk about some really good bench options and some characters that you want to be aware of when you are running strength, what you want to avoid, as they can get a little bit dicey for those particular teams. But if you enjoyed the video, bolt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff for me. In the comment section below, let me know your favorite quick PvP character down in the comment section. And if you run quick, let me know what your favorite team is as well. But with that said, let's put all the characters on a tier list, and let's take a look at some team builds. Alright, so we put all of the quick characters onto a tier list, and I have a bunch of tiers that we're going to talk about as well. But huge shout out to the database and the tier list maker, in links in the description. But this is the noob category. These characters you're not going to level up for the quick team. Now, there are some very good characters here, though. Bardo Cavendish works exceptionally well on the Slasher team. Kinemon Dendro works great on the Free Spirit team. Cracker works great on the Slasher team. You have very good options here. Even Black Marie is okay on the Powerhouse team. You do have some great units here. Lucci for shooters. However, in today's video, we're kind of prioritizing a mono quick team. And whilst these characters are very good, the other characters on their team aren't quick. So that's a big reason why they're here. But don't discredit these characters. You'll see them later down the line when we do like the Slasher tier list and stuff like that as well. But if we go up to defense, these are your defensive characters. Now, Quick has a very good array of defensive units, and there are two particular teams that have caused me a lot of grief, even with running decks, and that's this Frankie, Robin, Boa build with something like Smoothie and Uta on the team. You can run like Zoro and make it full Free Spirit. You can do some really weird stuff, and it runs like a 5-man defensive team that just doesn't die. The only way I found to kill it is to just run every single anti-quick unit in the entire game, like Kizaru, Moria, Yamato, Blackbeard, Neko, Inu, like all of them on the same team, just to take it down. Otherwise, the damage potential, it doesn't outspeed the time, which is just crazy. This Frankie, this PvP recruit is really, really good. This Boa is very good for the shooter team, which you can make mono quick. However, like, these units are the prevalent ones, being Boa and Beckman Lucky Roo. Shank's crew is here because they're just a demon on any team. Like, you can just max Shank's crew and just chuck them on any team and they work really well. Ivankov is another unit that sort of found its way onto this weird ass defensive janky build. Neko on the cerebral sort of build with like Shiroshi Mancherry, and then you got like Komurasaki for healing. Corazon works well there too. And then Zoro, if you do this weird Free Spirit build like over here, like these 4 units here, and then like if you bring Smoothie to like rollback specials, it's so toxic, man. Like, it's so toxic and it just does not die. So be very careful of that if you are running decks. Next, we got option. These are options. Like, they're not the best of quick characters, but they definitely work well. Once upon a time, Miguelin was so good. Even this Luffy was incredible too. Their haste ability is great. King at the back end works really, really well. Odin and Toki, obviously they do 1.2 times damage to strength, so they are very, very good as well. They're just like a team build buffer and a quick booster as well. But remember, they're a dual unit, so they don't get that buff. Nami can be used. She's okay. King's good for nuking, and this Queen. These are just great free-to-play options. I have put Kizaru up here because he just works great as a bench option if you guys are struggling for other benches. There are better options, which we'll talk about later, but if you guys are missing some like good quick bench units, don't sleep on this Kizaru. You can definitely just chuck him on the team, and he will work exceptionally well. If we go up here, I just added this tier just for quick. Look, this tier might come back for other teams as well, but this is the potential tier. And all of these characters here are quick cerebral. We just got the release of Ivankov and Inuyasuma. I don't actually have these characters, so I don't really want to put them somewhere and be like, these characters suck or these characters are crazy, without actually using them per se. Plus, my boy Super Tandem Shanks actually got a buff and now avoids half stats. This Ivankov can remove half stats, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they rock in Grand Party. But this team can do really well as an option for Grand Party. So I've included all of the quick cerebral characters. The core that I sort of would like recommend that I would probably use would be this core right here of these 5 characters, being Uta, Shanks, Law, Inazuma, and Ivankov. But then you have like the options of like Sabo, Hina, and Robin. Plus, if you go down here, you've got Cat Viper, who's a cerebral booster too, and this Corazon, who's a great cerebral booster too. So you do have options there. Let me know in the comment section below if you've used this cerebral quick build. I have used it in Grand Party. I've used basically this kind of build that you see here, these 4 units. And I think I brought Neko on the team as well, just to round out my bench. But like these characters work exceptionally well, like very, very well under Uta. So it's interesting to see how they'll go with Inazuma and Ivankov. Next, we got the counter killers. So these are just basically strength destroyers. Now, Brook is probably the weakest that you see on this list. And the one that stands out the most is Izokiku and Sugar. The speed reduction that Sugar gives and the CT reduction, all that is just absolutely insane. And if you're coming up against a mono strength team and you just use Sugar and Versakainu, it's basically curtains. They literally can't do anything. The special binding and the damage output of Izokiku is great, and then Shiryu is also a really good option at giving you cooldowns whilst also nerfing strength as well. So these characters are purely designed for just versing strength, and they can be slotted in like here and there depending on what your team build looks like. Shiryu and Sugar are the 2 notable ones in my opinion, because Driven Quick is so incredibly powerful. We'll talk about that once we get to the teams, but that's what stands Quick out from the rest of these colors, because Ints as well, but they have a team that's sort of very class centric, as well as then just being like a very, very good color in PvP as well. Next, we move up to Amazing. These characters are all very, very good. Now, Shiki is on like the borderline, the cusp of moving into the top tier for me. But all these characters are exceptional. Shiki, with his level limit break 4, is an absolute demon with fixed damage. Kanjuro gives fixed damage as well, so does Porkini. These 3 units are exceptional. Orochi's really good too. He can special bind. He also has, I'm pretty sure he has fixed damage as well. Then you have like Kaido, old school. He still holds his own. He has really good damage output, but I do think he's been replaced by a lot of other characters like Orochi, Shiki, and then the characters we'll talk about at the top. The bench options of Monsters and Smoothie. Now, I'm not a huge Smoothie fan, but I have come up against Smoothies and I have almost thrown my phone against the wall because of her 50% CD reduction. Plus, on the bench, she has a very, very good potential, and she can make your quick teams better. I don't use her per se, but I know a lot of people do, and a lot of people like rate her. But I guess that's just because I run like quick driven and I just don't really have a spot for her. As for Whitebit, he's just holding his own up here in Amazing. He's a very good bench option. I think he's better than any other character in option as well in terms of what a bench character provides. So I had to sort of put him up here in Amazing. Now we move up to the gods. We have the top of the top, the creme de la creme. These 4 characters right here. Akainu is a must on any quick team. He is the character that you pick first. He's the character that you put on the team, and he has to go there. He works exceptionally well at nerfing strength. He works exceptionally well when you're not versing strength. He's an absolute demon, and he pops up on stuff like Dex teams, literally just to counter like strength if they try and do like a counter team, because he is so good at destroying them. He does fixed damage. No, sorry, he does damage, and he has the HP cut, and then he has to keep himself cooldown. He's a demon. He's so good. Next, we got Tesoro. I love Tesoro. I think he's one of the best PvP characters in the entire game. 3,500 fixed damage at level limit break 4, as well as all the defense he gives. He's a rainbow booster, but he's a driven character. And as you guys can see here, all these characters are driven. And then you've got driven. Like, the driven synergy that Quick has is actually insane. Blue Jam, probably the second best in my opinion, or maybe even equal best PvP character in the entire game. Up there with Fuji and Pell. And Fuji, he's just an absolute monster, provided you are running the quick driven build. This guy's an absolute demon. But even if you're not, even if you only have like a Kainu, Fuji, and then like one other driven character, like he just works still so exceptionally well. So that's the tier list. Let me know if you disagree, agree, all that good stuff in the comment section below. These are sort of like the best quick PvP characters that I do believe. But if you have any discrepancies or if I've forgotten anything, like I said, please let me know in the comment section below as well. Alright, so the first team that we're going to be looking at is the complete strength counter. Now, just like my other videos, the bottom team here is the team that we are using, and the top team is the one that like you're stereotypically going to see. Or I'm just going to go through some team builds that you will see. There's also some clips on the side. They're probably not going to match up with the teams that you see. It's just basically Quick doing its thing. So, the first team that we are looking at is basically the complete strength killer. All these characters have the ability to nerf strength. So Sugar, like I said, she's an absolute demon. She reduces strength, attack, and speed. She's just insane with her passive, giving 6 CT up and 9 CT down to strength. Akainu just goes absolutely ballistic. Izokiku can special bind. The damage output you have with these 2 units alone is just exceptional. Plus, because you are running a PvP rare recruit in the front, you can build out a PvP, like a very good PvP bench. You can just bring nukers, like the monsters. You can bring Whitebeard. You can bring Blue Jam, Porkamy, any of those characters that you might have. You can easily do that. But this team doesn't need all of this nerfing to actually take down strength. Strength isn't in a position where it's super strong or has that capability to see to stall out the fight, HP cut, and fix damage the team down. So you don't really need these characters per se all on the same team. But if you just want to go balls to the wall and say fuck you to strength, then this is the team that's pretty much going to get you over the line most of the time, because it has all the characters on it that are very, very good at taking it down. Brook is probably the weakest on this particular team, if I had to be like fully sincere. Brook, he's just kind of another option if you guys are looking for something to take down strength, but he's still very, very good at doing so nevertheless. As you can see in the clip there, he kind of dies, but like this team, like I said, you have so much good bench that you can just bring characters in. But if you don't have something like Sugar, level limit break 4, you can just bring in like Final Tab Luffy. If you don't have Brook at all, or you just don't want to run Brook because you have Sugar, you can just bring something in like Kaido or like Orochi, or even bring some of these crazy-ass PvP rare recruits into the front, like Blue Jam, Porkamy, what's his name? Kanjuro as well. They all work great. So as I mentioned, you can just bring characters in if you are missing particular pieces of that puzzle to take down strength. The big ones, in my opinion, if you are looking for characters that are very, very good, is like Izokiku, Sugar, and Akainu. Again, Akainu is a character you like must have on your quick team, but if you don't, you can do some stuff like this. Brook is just, he's not it though. So like if you guys do have Akainu, I would highly recommend just putting him on the team. But Brook is another option, not the best option. I do understand a lot of people don't have stuff like Shiryu and whatnot for PvP rare recruits as well. So if you guys are missing a bunch of PvP rare recruits, you can run this team as a 5-man team. You can easily just chuck all these characters on the team and then just replace them here and there. That will diminish your bench value, and I do recommend people doing discounts on every single PvP banner so you can build up your bench for some teams. But if you need to run a 5-man strength team, 5-man quick team when it comes to like nuking strength, it is very, very doable. So as you can see here, your options, you can bring in Kaido, you can bring in Luffy, you can bring in stuff like Smoothie and Shiki, Tesoro, all these other characters as well. They all work exceptionally well too. But the teams that I stereotypically like to run are derived around Driven. Now, the PvP rare recruits of Quick are so centered to Driven that it's like not even funny. And then you also have like those cerebral free spirit characters as well. With Fuji, Kanjuro, Blue Jam, Porkamy, Shiryu, they're all incredibly good PvP characters that work exceptionally well on the Driven meta, but they don't buff Quick per se. Porkamy buffs Powerhouse, Blue Jam buffs Driven, Fuji buffs Driven, Kanjuro buffs Driven and Striker, but they have stuff like Orochi as well, which is Driven Powerhouse booster, and pretty much all of their good units are Driven Powerhouse. So you can easily chuck teams like this together, still get some really good strength nerfing and nuking down with stuff like Akainu, with stuff like Sugar. You can even bring Shiryu into the front lines here if you're missing something like Kanjuro. Orochi is kind of just here as a flex as well. You don't even have to use Orochi. You could use something like Shiki, level limit break 4. You could use something like Tesoro, level limit break 4. The list goes on and on and on of very good Driven characters that are sitting on the bench in the waiting. And you can bring stuff like Blue Jam in the front too, kind of like what you're seeing on this particular team build. This is my stereotypical team build when I like to try and take down strength. And we are going up against the Sasaki challenge fight. Now this fight is actually fairly challenging, and as you can see, it does put up a fight, because it does have characters that can get through defense, namely stuff like Kid, namely stuff like King. But when you are building out anti-strength, there are units that just sort of beat them before that even comes into effect. So whether you're running anti-strength or whether you're running Driven, the list of characters kind of goes on and on and on. And another team that sort of pops up quite a lot when you are versing just random teams is the Fighter team. Now, Fighter is littered with very good strength characters. Now, they're obviously not going to be running all strength, but there are so many strength characters littered into the team that you can easily take the team down. Now, there is the King Fighter challenge fight. I really should have recorded a video on that as well to showcase that. But as you can see, this fighter team is very centric around strength with stuff like Jack. You have Ulti, you have King, you have Who's Who, and then you have Katakuri, because Katakuri is just like a staple in that particular team, so I really wanted to include him. But if you can break the pieces of the puzzle of these class-based teams, whether it's the fighter team, free spirit team, slash team, all those teams that are either running 6-man or running even 8-mans with just a wonky-ass bench, if you can break the pieces of the puzzle early, you usually have really good success at taking them down. But this particular strength team, this particular quick team is the one that has the ability to sort of take down other teams. I've seen this particular team with a very good bench of like Porkamy, the monsters, even you can run stuff like Smoker, and some other like interesting characters. You can use a Orochi on this bench as well because you have the spot for another legend. But this particular team can tussle with Dex. I'm getting my types mixed up. With Dex. This team can actually tussle with Dex because it has so much HP cut, has so much fixed damage, and then you can halve stats with stuff like Blue Jam to deal more damage. With Fuji as well, you have so much defense, you have so much bulk, that if you aren't versing like the full anti-quick team, this team actually does really, really well. So as mentioned, you can use like a legend on the back end of this team too, because Quick Driven have the ability to have so many PvP rare recruits in the front that you have those options in the back. You can even run stuff like Kaido, you can even run stuff like Smoothie on the bench as well as a really, really good option. But the interchangeability and the utility that Quick has makes it such a formidable team and makes it one of the best type teams in the entire game. I don't think it is the best type team, but when you are running the Quick Driven team, it does sort of creep up in terms of like conversations of stuff like top 5. So all in all, it is very, very powerful, and no matter how you run it, if you're running it anti-strength like these characters right here, or if you're running it as a combination of the two, whether you're running this sort of driven build, however you like to put it together, or if you're running the big old driven build itself, this particular team it does absolute work, and the amount of options you have make it so formidable. But what bench options do you have for the team? This is the bench options for Quick down here, and then these are some characters that you want to be very wary of. So the bench options you have are very, 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 very good because of like I said, the amount of Pirate Festival rare recruits Quick actually has. Blue Jam and Porkamy are probably the two best ones. Blue Jam's so good though that you kind of want to try and bring him in the front line, but he does have more efficiency in the back 50 seconds. So if you have stuff like Kanjuro, if you have stuff like Shiryu, and you are versing stuff like Strength, stereotypically you want to run them in the front because their passives trigger within the first 40 seconds. Have them die, like put them in the middle so they are copying a lot of shots, and then have them die so Blue Jam actually comes in. Porkamy is another really, really good unit with his 4k fixed damage. The downside to Porkamy is he only boosts powerhouse characters, so you do need to try and litter your team with powerhouse units like Kaido and Orochi. Blue Jam is powerhouse as well. You can use stuff like Smoothie, which works great. You have the monsters at the back here. They're also powerhouse too. But whilst Quick have some very, very good nukers, you can even run stuff like Smoothie, you can run stuff like the Giants, and you can sort of morph it into sort of like this weird kind of like int bench with like powerhouse and driven as well, because they sort of overlap quite well, which we'll touch on once we get to the int video. As for characters you want to be careful of, King and Kid are the two big ones on the strength team. They're not as scary as like Blackbeard was when we were talking about the strength team. But they can go through defense, which means they can still output a lot of damage. As for Dex, you don't really want to verse Dex, but sometimes you'll come up against strength teams and their bench will be littered with like Pell, Dalton, and Dofi. That's why I put Dofi here, so you do want to be careful of that. And if you do see Blackbeard sort of just on a powerhouse or driven team, or just somewhere along the lines, or if you're deciding to take on Dex for whatever reason with that HP cutting team that I mentioned at the back end, just be very careful of Blackbeard. His HP cuts are scary, his fixed damage is very scary, and his defense down is an option too. The last thing that I wanted to touch on was half stats. Half stats do rock the Quick team quite a lot, and characters that go through defense like Whitebeard or Roger, they can also be a little bit scary too, as you guys just saw there, with their ability to just take out 2 units. Losing units though on the Quick team isn't a big problem, because the way you build out the team, you can actually function it very nicely, and even have stuff like Shiryu like that right there. He actually came in with his passive still live because Whitebeard Roger actually just hits so goddamn hard. So it's going to wrap up the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to go down there, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're enjoying the series, make sure to give it a like as well. But wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Late!